You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Bay Area, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And tonight, the Warriors played well, but just didn't have enough in the tank to get it done on the road against one of the Western Conference elite, falling 114-110 to Ant Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And you know who else was over there? Was certified dub killer and straight up matchup menace for the Warriors, Naz Reid. And the Warriors shrunk again in the big moment, specifically the Warriors wings. We're talking Andrew Wiggins and John Kuminga. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports Bay Area YouTube channel. Please smash that subscribe button. Thank you also if you're getting us on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Cyrus does a great job. And of course, today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Tonight looked pretty good for the Warriors early. They were forcing a ton of turnovers, active defense, not letting the Timberwolves beat them in the paint. That was huge early on. They didn't let Gobert get deep, and they forced like 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes, 11 or 12 turnovers, I think 12 turnovers in the first half. The Warriors were playing lights out in that first half. Really, really great. The only thing that kept the Timberwolves in this one was Naz Reid, who is a certified Warriors killer. He averages over 14 points a game, almost 15 points a game when he plays the Warriors, and about 6 rebounds a game. When he plays anybody else in his career, he averages about 10 rebounds, or 10 points a game and 4 rebounds a game. He just steps up against the Dubs, and Dubs fans, we know this. We all know Naz Reid is the certified dub killer on the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they just pose like their roster poses a really tough matchup for the Warriors and just about any other team in the NBA, even without Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, Naz Reid, what other team has like 3 centers when Cat is healthy that they can run their offense through and play all 3 on the court at the same time? That is wild. And so they still have 2 huge guys, and the Warriors only have 1 of Draymond Green, and Trace Jackson Davis can't play 35 40 minutes a game yet. He's just not built up to that level of stamina and endurance to be able to handle just banging inside with a guy like Rudy Gobert for the whole night. And obviously Draymond Green can't duplicate himself, and both of them play 48 minutes a game. So huge matchup problem for the Warriors inside. They didn't have any answer for Naz Reid, who hit 5 of his first 5 3-point attempts, finally missed a shot from beyond the arc about midway point of the second quarter. And the Warriors not shooting very well tonight. Minnesota's the best defensive team in the NBA. They lead the NBA with a 108.3 defensive rating. They're one of the top defenses in the NBA, and at home they're 25-9 after this win. And they had been tied for the 3rd best 3-point shooting percentage in the NBA coming into tonight, which is going to go up because they just hit the most 3-pointers in a game that they have hit all season long. The Timberwolves connected on 52% of their 3-pointers tonight, 21 of 24 from beyond the arc. The Warriors, 14 of 36 from beyond the arc. When you get outscored from deep by that many points, you're not going to win very many games. And Dubs fans, we know this because usually it's the Warriors on the other side of that, with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers, doing their thing. Tonight just wasn't enough. Steph played pretty well, finished the night with 31 points, kind of a quiet, like Steffortless 31, like he didn't even really, I mean, he had a 3-point barrage going there at the end, but it wasn't scoring in bunches. It wasn't crazy shots. But Steph just didn't have enough help, plain and simple. Past Steph Curry, you had 4 other Warriors in double figures. Klay leading the way amongst those guys with 16 points. Wiggins 15, Kuminga 14, Draymond Green 12. Nice to see Draymond getting into double digits for his 2nd consecutive game. But 14 points from Andrew Wiggins and 15 points from Andrew Wiggins and 14 points from Jonathan Kuminga is just not enough to get it done. Steph needs more help than this. Brandon Podziemski pitched in 7. It wasn't it wasn't enough. In the first half, they got what they needed from these guys, and both of these wings, I'm talking Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins, shrank in the second half. Only 3 points from Jonathan Kuminga after halftime. Only 4 points from Andrew Wiggins after halftime. This is not enough. You can't be getting 7 combined points from your starting wings in the second half of games. That doesn't work. You're not going to win a lot of games like that. You're especially not going to beat the third place team in the Western Conference. Yes, I know the Timberwolves do not have Karl Anthony Towns, but I do know that they're 25-9 at home, and they still got Anthony Edwards, who is a certified dog, as one of my favorite players in the NBA to watch. Did you guys see that massive dunk that he threw down on John Collins the other night? Just unreal. He was caught after the game saying that was his favorite dunk he's ever had in his career. Just an unreal athlete. And I think we're kind of witnessing the birth of, I think, the next best star, the next face of the NBA, if he wants to be that. Anthony Edwards is that guy. Two teams in two totally different trajectories here. The Timberwolves, a young team with a lot of fresh bodies. Their bench actually outplayed the Warriors bench in this one, something that hasn't happened a lot lately. Clay has been playing really well. GP2 didn't really pitch in a whole lot tonight. No Moses Moody tonight, did not play. And Trayce Jackson-Davis, only 6 points tonight. Kind of a down night for him as well. He played pretty well on the defensive side of things, though. 3 steals, 2 blocks. And he had some nice defense against Anthony Edwards, sliding across the lane on a couple plays, preventing Edwards from getting to the back to the cylinder, which he's obviously like elite, one of the best players in the NBA at getting to the cylinder, driving the paint, getting to the free throw line. And they really contained him for most of the game tonight. He did finish with 23 points, 4 of 8 from 3-point land, 5 of 8 from the free throw line. So he did do his thing, but they did keep him kind of constrained for most of the night. Felt like they didn't really let him fully break out. The one area that the Warriors, not the one area, there are multiple areas the Warriors played really well in tonight. Defensively, they did pretty good. Even though Minnesota hit all of these 3-point shots, they were just hot. And sometimes in the NBA, in today's NBA, that's just how it goes. The Warriors, if the Wolves don't shoot 52.5% from beyond the arc in this one, the Warriors probably win this game. And to further expand on the Timberwolves 3-point shooting in this one, they started this game 1 for 10 from beyond the arc. So they really, really turned it on in after that early start, that sluggish start early in this one where they were just kind of missing open shots. And you heard Fitz, if you were watching on NBC Sports Bay Area, you heard Fitz kind of say the ominous, broadcaster's jinx of you can't leave someone on the Timberwolves clanked a wide open like practice 3-pointer. And Fitz said, you can't leave the Timberwolves open for 3 all night long. They're the 3rd, 4th best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. They will start to make those shots. And lo and behold, what happens? The Timberwolves go on an insane run from 3, make more threes in a game than they have any other night this season. And it spells doom for the Warriors as they couldn't really get it done. But the Warriors did show some good fight tonight. The defense stepped up. They never gave up in this one. They were in it. They were down by close to double digits in the fourth quarter. And it just felt like another typical fourth quarter Warriors collapsed. But they came back in this one and showed some fight, didn't give up. And it wasn't just Steph. Draymond Green pitching in at the end, even had an Andrew Wiggins steal that kind of gave the Warriors a good and put them in good position to come back and win this one. Actually, the Warriors were down 1. Wiggins forced a steal going the other way. Steph Curry loses the ball, trips over Draymond Green's foot. Warriors end up in a tie-up. There's a jump ball. Warriors get the jump ball. Gary Payton has an open lane to drive to the rim and leaves the layup just hanging on the rim and then going back down the other way. McDaniels hits a jumper that rims in for the Timberwolves. A huge swing there. Warriors could have been up 1. Instead, you're down 3. So that was a big moment in this one. That was just under 2 minutes left in this one. And that kind of felt like that was the game. That not that play dictated the whole thing, but that was the key pivot point there at the end where it just felt like the Warriors weren't going to be able to overcome it. They came close with fouls and playing the foul and shoot 3 game there at the end. You always have a chance with Steph when you're playing that game and it's close, but wasn't enough to get it done. Again, 114 to 110, the final. Steph doesn't get nearly enough help from Wiggins and Kuminga. We'll break that down a little bit more on the other side. Stick with us. This is the Locked On Warriors postcast, and I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we will be right back. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on that 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risks, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whatever you're into, speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, the first time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we got to talk about this Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga problem. Kuminga was on a massive tear where he was just averaging 20 points a night, and then all of a sudden kind of falls back to earth in these last few games. He's, again, under that mark, couple games in a row, and just doesn't look like he's playing with the same aggressiveness that we've come to expect from him. Doesn't look like he's playing with the same physicality. He's still involved and he's trying to get to the rim, but teams are playing him differently. They're kind of using that Giannis strategy where they're kind of creating that wall a couple feet away from outside of the restricted area and forcing Kuminga to either shoot a mid-range jumper or drive and try and get through 2-3 bodies at a time, including a 7-footer most of the time. And that's what the Timberwolves did to him tonight. Kuminga couldn't really get it going. He wasn't getting to the rim the way we're used to seeing. And the Warriors got to do something to get him more involved. Without him being a solid number 2 scoring option, especially on nights when Klay isn't putting up 20 plus points. Klay, 3 of 11 tonight from 3. Shout out 311. Always love that number because then I get to talk about the song Amber. Great song, great band. Shout out 311. And Klay only 6 of 15 from the field, so he didn't really get it in other areas. Didn't get to the line a bunch tonight. Only had 1 free throw. Klay was not that second scoring option. He just didn't have the stroke tonight from 3. So someone else has to step up. That has been Jonathan Kuminga pretty much every single night. That's what we expect now as Warriors fans in the year 2024. But tonight, he's still 21. We got to realize this kid is still not who he's going to be. He's not anywhere close to reaching the peak of his powers. He's not fully developed, and he has not come close to realizing what his potential is in this league. So some nights he's going to be off too. You need somebody else who can pitch in. Wiggins pitched in tonight, 15 points, 4 of 8 from the field, 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Love seeing him get to that free throw line. 2 of 3 from 3. That wasn't bad either. He played okay defense. -10 plus minus. That's not That's not indicative of a guy who's helping his team win. And I know some people want to say plus minus doesn't really mean a whole lot. Steve Kerr will tell you otherwise. He told you last game after the Warriors' last loss to the Indiana Pacers, he doesn't really care. Maybe it was before the loss. Either way, he told you he doesn't really care about how many points a guy like Brandon Podziemski scores. All he cares about is that he leads the Warriors in plus minus by 100. Like the next closest Warrior is Draymond Green, who's more than 100 points behind him in plus minus. It's indicative that he's a part of many, many winning lineups. And Andrew Wiggins very frequently finishes the game with a lower plus minus than the rest of the Warriors starters. Now, ironically, tonight, Brandon Podziemski actually finished with the lowest plus minus of all Warriors starters, minus 11. He only played 19 minutes, and I'm still wondering. We brought this up a couple days ago. I'm still wondering if he's kind of banged up, and the Warriors are being tight-lipped about it because he's just such a tough kid. I really wonder if AirPods is dealing with a lingering injury. He did miss some time a couple weeks ago, missed a couple games, so maybe that's a thing. He's got a lower body issue that he was working through. Maybe that's still affecting him. All I know is he doesn't really look right. He looks okay in the start of games and then just really quickly dies off, which tells me he is dealing with something that's causing him pain, because he's able to manage it for a little while and then it starts to get to him. It throws him off his rhythm as the game goes on. So really curious to see what's going on there. But this just makes even more pressure on the one guy that we just don't want this pressure to be on, Andrew Blanken Wiggins, who again shrinks in these big moments. This is supposed to be like, how many guys in the NBA tell you that they want to go back to where they started their career, especially if that team gave up on them when they were a high draft pick, and they want to stick it to that team. They take it personally and they want to use that as fuel and motivation. That's just not who Andrew Wiggins is. You heard him at the halftime interview. Fitz asked him, you've had a lot of good games in this building so far, right? 11 points to start the game, start the half. You're going to keep doing work in the second half, right? And Andrew Wiggins kind of smiled and was like, oh yeah, lots of good memories here in Minnesota. Man, good memories in Minnesota. They gave up on you. They shipped you out for a bag of chips and D'Angelo Russell. They didn't want you. Like, where is the juice? Where is the fire? And I know he's got off-court issues going on with his family. His brother actually stepped away from his team over in Europe, and he's not playing the rest of the season due to these issues that the Wiggins family is having. And while it's not our place to assume what these are or even guess what these are, pontificate, nothing. Like, that is his business, but it's affecting his play on the court. He doesn't look like he's all the way mentally in the zone when he's playing. Like, he looks so passive sometimes. I just wonder if that's just what's getting to him, man. And I really hope that for his sake, for the Warriors' sake, he can overcome it and he can lock in when he's out there on the court. So many guys talk about that the court is a solace. Playing in these games is like a solace for them and to get away from the things going on in their lives. It doesn't look like that's the case with Andrew Wiggins right now, and hopefully he can turn that around. I mean, it's just not enough. It's just not enough from a former number 1 overall draft pick. You expect more. Yes, he did have that big steal late in this game that could have put the Warriors in position to pull ahead and potentially win. It was a huge play on defense. Massive, massive, massive play. His defense really isn't the issue. He's been pretty good defensively. He's not making any huge flashy plays out there on defense, but you don't really need that. You just need a guy who plays solid defense. Talked about the connectivity. He mentioned that same word that the Warriors love to throw around, connectivity, in that halftime interview that he did with the NBC Sports Bay Area crew. And he talked about how the defense was playing really well tonight with that connectivity. And he is a huge part of that chemistry. The issue with Wiggins is that he should be able to take over this game in spurts on offense. I'm not talking about start to finish, but when there's the non-Steph minutes, when Klay doesn't have it going, and they're clearly emphasizing walling off Kuminga from getting to the point to the paint, Wiggins needs to step up and be that other guy who can drive, who can slash when the help defense goes over to Kuminga. He needs to look to get involved and cut to the basket and get some easy ones in the paint, and he's just not doing that. He's just flat out not doing it. And it's a problem. It's a problem because I don't know where this scoring is going to come from. If it's not Klay Thompson, if it's not John Kuminga, Steph had 31 tonight. But clearly the Warriors are talent deficient against a team, again, who is towards the top of the West, but missing one of their best players, Karl Anthony Towns. perennial all-star, is out, and the Warriors still can't find a way to get over the hump against these types of teams. Yes, the Minnesota Timberwolves have only lost 9 games at home all season long. The Warriors do fall to 18-15 on the road, still a better record than they are at home, and that's a problem too. I mean, I love to see the effort on the road, but it just raises another red flag of like, where is this effort at home? Why can't they do this when they're at home? Why do they seem to be so complacent with coming out of halftime and just playing you know? I mean, tonight we saw again after halftime, the Warriors were outscored 56-45. In that fourth quarter, they were outscored 36-29. Like, you can't win games when you're losing crunch time minutes. This has been a theme all season long. The Warriors have not been very good in crunch time games. And yes, they have had a ton of them, and they haven't been terrible, but they definitely haven't been good. You can't make the argument that they have been good. Again, positives to take away from tonight. The Warriors played great, forced a ton of turnovers in this one initially, but turned the ball over a bunch in the second half, narrowed that margin, and they didn't capitalize on those 12 turnovers that they forced in the first half. By the way, the Timberwolves tightened it up, only 3 turnovers in the second half after the Warriors forced 12 in the first one. And that was the difference, 2-3 more turnovers. This one could have been different. Or if the Warriors even just score even on 1 or 2 additional possessions that they had from these 15 turnovers, for the Timberwolves to outscore the Warriors in points off turnovers, when the Warriors force more turnovers than the Timberwolves, that you can't do that. You can't win games like that, especially against a team that is bigger than you, that's going to out-rebound you, that's going to outscore you in the paint. You have to force transition points, force turnovers, get out in transition, run, and score. And the Warriors just didn't do that well enough tonight. They came close, again, 114-110. The Warriors fall to Minnesota in Minneapolis. Just wasn't enough to get it done. We got a little more to get into on the other side. Stick with us. This is the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We will be right back. Today's episode of Locked On Sports Bay Area is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Demons and Goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play at PrizePicks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Today on PrizePicks, I had to get back in on that March Madness action, so I took GCU's Tyon Grant Foster more than 16.5 points, and Bama guard Mark Sears more than 19.5 points, and it cashed again. You already know we are going to continue our strategy to go with more than on points per game for star guards in March Madness, and I suggest you tail along too. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. It's PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Welcome back to Locked On Sports Bay Area and the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we got to take a quick peek at this Western Conference standings. With this loss, the Warriors are now closer to being eliminated from the play-in tournament altogether, no postseason, than they are to overtaking the Lakers to move up to 9th in the standings. The Warriors came into tonight 1.5 games ahead of the Rockets and 1.5 games behind the Lakers. Warriors dropped this one. Rockets are off tonight. Rockets are now 1 game back of the Golden State Warriors. We are now red alert. Every single game for the rest of the season is a must-win game. You cannot afford to keep losing. By the way, the Houston Rockets aren't losing games. They have won 8 games in a row. I'm here to tell you they're a problem. And the Warriors, are not playing well right now. And if they can't stop this kind of streak of bad play, I don't know what to say if they miss the playoffs entirely on this one. If you let the Houston Rockets overtake you with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Chris Paul, Andrew Wiggins, all these dudes, I don't know what to say. There is no reason that you should not be able to beat out Houston. I know they're playing well. I know they got a ton of young guys. I'm not trying to discredit what Houston is doing. All I'm saying is nobody over there is Stephen Blanken Curry. And if you're going to waste these last couple of years that you have of Steph Curry greatness, he is 36 years old. He ain't getting any younger. You don't have a big window if you're the Golden State Warriors. We might be watching this window shut real time. I mean, I need to take a deep dive after tonight into the Houston Rockets remaining schedule and the Golden State Warriors remaining schedule, as I don't got a good feeling about this. These are two teams going in two different directions. The Warriors trying to figure out, again, we go back to season 6 Sopranos, Tony Soprano. Who am I? Where am I going? Who are the Warriors? Where are they going? Right now, looks like straight to Cancun after this season is over, because they are not in a good position to make a playoff run. Houston is in a much better position. I'm telling you right now, if you'd go on the Locked On Houston postcast tomorrow, whenever they play next, I think they play tomorrow again, they're probably going to be saying they feel pretty damn good about the Rockets' chances to overtake the Warriors for this final playoff seed. Now they do play the Rockets coming up soon. You got also games against the Spurs and the Hornets, which you cannot lose to teams like the Spurs and the Hornets. If they miss the playoffs by a game or two, we might be talking about how the Warriors lost to the Spurs earlier this season when yeah, you didn't have Steph, yeah, you didn't have Draymond, but like, you just had one of the worst efforts of the season and you just lost to one of the worst teams in the NBA. Like, if you are losing games like that, I don't know if you deserve to go to the playoffs. Tonight, the Warriors played well. Tonight, it felt like a playoff game, a back and forth matchup between two teams that were very good. They both played really well tonight, the Timberwolves and the Warriors. But at the end of the day, the Warriors went through huge stretches where it felt like they couldn't score unless Steph was on the court, and the Timberwolves were just better than they were. Just flat out, just a better team, more talent. When's the last time that you felt like the Warriors didn't have enough talent on the roster? It's been a while. But I'm telling you, we're a far, far, far cry away from the days of having guys like Kevin Durant and Andre Iguodala on the wing when we're rolling out there with Jonathan Kuminga, who very well could turn into a semi-Kevin Durant-ish version. I mean, he's never going to have that shooting stroke, but he could be, a dynamic scorer in that same type of way if he develops a nice jumper. But there's no Andre Iguodala on this team. Andrew Wiggins isn't that guy. He's just not. Moses Moody isn't that guy. He's just not. A lot of guys kind of do some similar things, but the Warriors are just not that deep right now. Like, they have a lot of guys who can play well and step up, and when they all do, it looks great. We talk about the strength in numbers type feel, and that's so fun when that all happens. But on a night like tonight, when all these guys just kind of have mid games and the Timberwolves are sinking shots, and it's a make or miss league. Everyone loves that saying. It's a make or miss league. And the Warriors weren't making threes tonight. They weren't making threes tonight, below 40% from three. And when that's not happening, it feels like there's no other way for this team to win. There's no other guy who's going to step up. There's Andrew Wiggins being passive, Jonathan Kuminga drawing so much focus from other teams at this point. The NBA has adjusted to him. The league has adjusted in how they defend him, and they need another answer, and they don't seem to have one. The answer is shoot your way out of the slump, and some nights that's not going to work for you. Some nights you're going to get outshot, especially when you have a talent deficient roster like you currently do. It's going to be tough sledding. From here until the end of the season. The Warriors got to be in playoff mode. Must win game every single night from here on out. The Warriors, completely forget. We said this already, but if you're still, for any reason, hanging on to a glimmer of hope that the Warriors can somehow catch like the Suns or the Kings or the Pelicans or any of these teams, get rid of that right now. Save yourself the disappointment later, because it's not happening. They're not playing their way out of the play-in tournament unless It's the opposite direction, playing their way right out of the play-in tournament and into Cancun. 1, 2, 3, Cancun on 3. That's not how I want this Warriors season to end. It blows my mind that we're even at this point with this team, with this collection of players. It just doesn't feel like it's enough. It just doesn't feel like it's enough. I mean, I want to be positive about this loss tonight. I want to talk about, how the defense played great and all these good signs. And it was, if you're close to competing with a team like this, then maybe you got a shot in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, you got to win some ball games. And the Warriors aren't doing that. They aren't winning enough down the stretch. Not that many games left in the NBA regular season. And you got to start winning. And it starts Tuesday. Next game, Tuesday versus the Miami Heat, an Eastern Conference playoff team, 4:30 p.m. Then Orlando Magic next day on Wednesday, second game of a back-to-back, 4 p.m. These are 2 playoff teams. Again, 2 games you got to have at this point. And you always wonder, second game of a back-to-back in Florida when Miami is the first stop, what are they going to be doing that night in between the 2? I mean, you got to be locked in, laser focused. I mean, there's a lot of shenanigans you can get into in Miami. Warriors need to be back in that hotel like 30 minutes after that whistle, locking into Orlando on the next day, because there's no room for shenanigans at the end of the season anymore. I'm tired, man. That's about all the time we have for tonight. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. This has been the Locked On Warriors postcast on Locked On Sports Bay Area and on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Hopefully the Warriors turn it around. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you next time. Peace.